6 months after the billionaire died, his stepdaughter stood frozen in his dark study, because the man she buried, the man whose funeral the entire country attended, was standing right in front of her, alive, and the first thing he said to her was, "Congratulations, Amara, you passed the test."
If you're still watching, that means you're enjoying this story. Go ahead, subscribe, leave a comment, and share it. More powerful stories are coming.
Amara's hands began trembling. This isn't possible," she whispered. Chief Damian Wolfe stepped forward into the light. He looked exactly the same. The same cold eyes, the same sharp posture, the same powerful presence. But now there was something different in his expression. Pride. You died?" Amara said again. Damian walked toward the desk slowly. "No," he said calmly. "I disappeared." Amara shook her head in disbelief. "But the doctors, the funeral, the burial, all part of the plan." She stared at him. "You faked your death." Damian nodded once. "Yes." Amara collapsed into the chair behind her. "Why would anyone do something like that?" Damian opened a drawer and placed several files on the desk. "Because I needed to know something." He looked straight at her. "Who actually loved me?" Damian sat across from Amara. "For years I suspected my children were waiting for me to die," he said. "But suspicion is not proof. So he created a plan. A private doctor helped fake the collapse. A secret team arranged the funeral. Even the burial was staged. The coffin buried in the cemetery was empty." Amara stared at him in horror. "You watched everything?" Damian nodded. "Every argument, every fight, every attempt to steal from the company, every insult." He pushed one of the files toward her. "Marcus tried to take control of the shipping company." Another file. "Daniel bribed 2 board members." Another. "Vanessa sold family assets secretly." And Bianca. Damian sighed. "She spent 20 million in 3 months." Amara covered her mouth. "Oh my God." Then Damian leaned forward slightly. "But do you know what surprised me the most?" Amara looked up slowly. "You." Damian opened another folder. Inside were photos. Photos of Amara visiting his grave. Photos of her crying. Photos of her refusing to attend the inheritance meetings. "You refused the estate lawyers," Damian said. "You refused the cars. You even defended me when Marcus insulted me." Amara lowered her eyes. "I didn't do anything special." Damian shook his head. "You did something none of my real children did." "What?" "You mourned me." Silence filled the room. Finally Amara whispered softly, "You were my father." Damian stared at her for a long moment. Then he said something he had never said before. "And you were my daughter." Damian stood and walked toward the window. 6 months of watching my family taught me something important." Amara waited quietly. "I built an empire," he continued. "But I raised heirs who only know how to destroy." He turned back toward her. "I need someone who will protect it." Amara already knew what he was about to say. "No," she said immediately. Damian raised an eyebrow. "I haven't even asked yet." "You don't need to." She stood up. "I can't take your empire." Damian studied her. "Why not?" "Because it belongs to your children." Damian laughed quietly. "They stopped being my heirs the day they started waiting for my death." Amara shook her head. "They're still your family." Damian walked closer. "And you are not." Amara didn't answer. 2 days later the entire country woke up to shocking news. Breaking headlines flooded television screens. Billionaire Chief Damian Wolfe spotted alive. The dead billionaire returns. Social media exploded. The Wolfe children panicked. Marcus stormed into the mansion. "What is going on?" Vanessa ran into the living room holding her phone. This must be fake. But then the front door opened. And Chief Damian Wolfe walked inside. Alive! Bianca screamed. Daniel turned pale. Marcus stared in disbelief. Dad! Damian looked at them calmly. Missed me. The entire family surrounded him. Vanessa hugged him dramatically. We thought you were dead. Bianca started crying loudly. Marcus tried to act emotional. But Damian simply watched them quietly. Then he said something that made them freeze. I know everything. Silence. Daniel swallowed. What do you mean? Damian sat down slowly. I watched you for 6 months. Marcus's face changed. What? Every fight, every stolen asset, every lie. Vanessa stepped back slowly. Bianca stopped crying immediately. And Marcus finally realized something terrible. This was not a happy reunion. This was judgment. The mansion had never felt this tense before. Chief Damian Wolfe had returned from the dead. And the entire Wolfe family now sat in the living room like nervous students waiting for a verdict. Marcus paced back and forth across the marble floor. Vanessa sat on the couch twisting her fingers anxiously. Bianca kept checking her phone every few seconds as if hoping the situation would magically disappear. Daniel leaned quietly against the wall, studying their father carefully. Meanwhile, Damian Wolfe sat comfortably in his armchair, watching them. His expression was unreadable. Finally, Marcus cleared his throat. Dad, we need to talk. Damian raised one eyebrow. Do we? Marcus forced a nervous laugh. Well, you've been gone for 6 months. A lot has happened. Yes, Damian said calmly. I know. Daniel stepped forward slowly. You said you watched everything. I did. Daniel nodded. Then you know things got complicated. Damian leaned back in his chair. Complicated. Marcus quickly jumped in. The businesses were under pressure. Vanessa nodded eagerly. Yes. Investors were nervous after your death. Bianca added dramatically. And the media kept attacking us. Damian listened quietly. Then he asked one simple question. And stealing company money helped the situation. The room went silent. Marcus stiffened. That wasn't stealing. Oh, it was temporary restructuring. Daniel sighed. Dad, we were trying to keep things afloat. Damian looked directly at him. By bribing board members. Daniel froze. Vanessa spoke quickly. Everyone in business does that. Damian chuckled softly. Yes, corrupt people do. Bianca suddenly stood up. Why are we being attacked like this? Damian looked at her calmly. You are not being attacked. You are being exposed. The room fell silent again. Marcus clenched his fists. Look, Dad, we made mistakes. Damian didn't respond. Marcus continued. But we can fix everything. Vanessa nodded eagerly. Yes, now that you're back everything will return to normal. Bianca smiled sweetly. We missed you. Damian studied her face carefully. Did you? She nodded quickly. Yes, of course. Damian turned to his lawyer who stood quietly near the doorway. Mr. Adewale. Yes, sir. Play the recording. The lawyer pressed a button on a small tablet. Suddenly Bianca's voice filled the room. The recording was from 6 months earlier. Her voice was loud and clear. Honestly, I'm just waiting for the day everything becomes ours. Bianca's face turned white. Marcus stared in shock. Vanessa covered her mouth. Damian looked at them quietly. Shall I play the others? No one spoke. Marcus suddenly exploded. This is ridiculous. He pointed at Damian angrily. You faked your death just to spy on us. Damian tilted his head slightly. You say that like you expected loyalty. Daniel stepped forward carefully. Dad, please. Damian looked at him. You were always the smart one. Daniel lowered his voice. We can fix this. Damian waited. Give us another chance. Marcus nodded. Yes. Vanessa added quickly. We're still your children. Bianca started crying again. Please, Daddy. Damian stared at them for a long moment. Then he stood up slowly. All right. Everyone looked up. You will get one last chance. Marcus looked relieved. Really? Damian nodded. Yes. Vanessa jumped up happily. I knew you would forgive us. Bianca wiped her tears. Daniel smiled faintly. Marcus walked closer. So what do you want us to do? Damian walked toward the large window. Outside, the city lights stretched endlessly into the night. Then he turned back toward them. Tomorrow there will be a press conference. Marcus frowned slightly. Okay. Vanessa asked excitedly. To announce you're back. Damian smiled faintly. Yes. Daniel asked carefully. And the inheritance? Damian paused. That will also be announced. Marcus grinned. Good. Vanessa clapped her hands. I can't wait. Bianca hugged Vanessa happily. But Damian raised one finger. There is one condition. They all looked at him. Tonight, think carefully about everything you've done. Marcus shrugged. No problem. Vanessa smiled. We already regret everything. Damian nodded slowly. Good. Then he walked toward the door. But before leaving the room he stopped. Without turning around he said something quietly. Tomorrow, the truth will belong to the world. Then he left the room. The door closed behind him. Immediately Marcus turned to the others. Well, that went better than expected. Vanessa laughed in relief. I thought he was going to disown us. Bianca sighed dramatically. Thank God. Daniel, however, didn't look relaxed. Something felt wrong. Marcus slapped him on the shoulder. Relax. Tomorrow he'll announce everything goes back to us. Vanessa nodded confidently. Of course. Bianca smiled proudly. With the Wolfe children. Meanwhile, down the hallway, Damian Wolfe stood with his lawyer. Mr. Adewale looked at him carefully. You gave them hope. Damian nodded slowly. Yes. Why? Damian looked toward the living room where his children were laughing again. Then he said something cold. Because disappointment is stronger when it comes after hope. The lawyer nodded. And tomorrow? Damian's eyes hardened. Tomorrow the empire finally finds its true heir. And far away across the city, Amara sat quietly in her small apartment, completely unaware that by this time tomorrow, her life would change forever. 3 days later, Damian called a massive press conference. Journalists filled the hall. Cameras flashed everywhere. His children sat in the front row, nervous but hopeful. They believed their father had returned to restore the family empire. But then Damian stepped up to the microphone. My death was a test, he announced. Gasps filled the room. I wanted to see how my children would behave without me. Marcus forced a smile. We missed you, Dad. Damian ignored him. And what I discovered was disappointing. He picked up a document. I have therefore made a new decision regarding my estate. Vanessa whispered excitedly to Bianca. This is it. Damian continued. My sons Marcus and Daniel are permanently removed from all executive positions. Marcus jumped up. What? My daughters Vanessa and Bianca will receive no control of company assets. Bianca gasped loudly. Dad, you can't do that. Damian raised his hand. And my entire business empire. The room went silent. Will now belong to one person. Everyone leaned forward. Then Damian said the name. Amara Cole. The doors at the back of the hall opened. Amara walked in slowly. The room erupted in whispers. Marcus shouted in anger. This is a joke. Vanessa looked furious. She's not even your real daughter. Damian's voice cut through the chaos. She's the only one who acted like one. Daniel stepped forward angrily. You're destroying this family. Damian looked directly at him. No, you destroyed yourselves. He turned to Amara and handed her the official documents. My empire is yours now. Amara took them slowly, her hands shaking. I will protect it, she said quietly. And for the first time in decades, Chief Damian Wolfe smiled with pride. Outside the building, reporters surrounded the new billionaire heiress. The Wolfe siblings stood behind her in shock. Their inheritance gone, their power gone, all because of the greed. Meanwhile, Damian watched everything from the doorway. His lawyer stood beside him. Was the test worth it? The lawyer asked. Damian nodded slowly. Yes. Then he looked toward Amara. The only child who cried when I died was the one who deserved everything. And with that, the empire finally found its true heir. The news spread across the country within hours. Every television station repeated the same headline. Billionaire gives entire empire to stepdaughter. Wolfe children disinherited. Mystery heir takes control of Wolfe Global. Outside the Wolfe Global headquarters, reporters crowded the entrance. Camera flashes lit up the street like lightning. And inside the building, Amara Cole sat alone in the chairman's office. The office that now belonged to her. The same office where Damian Wolfe had controlled a billion-dollar empire. Amara stared at the massive desk in front of her. She hadn't touched anything yet. Everything still looked exactly the way Damian left it. The golden pen, the glass paperweight, the neatly arranged files. It felt wrong to sit there. She whispered softly to herself. This can't be real. Just then the office door opened quietly. Damian walked in. He closed the door behind him. Get used to it, he said calmly. Amara looked up at him. I don't feel like a billionaire. Damian chuckled. Neither did I when I started. She sighed. I'm not ready for this. Damian leaned against the desk. No one ever is. Across the city, inside a luxury hotel suite, Marcus Wolfe slammed his fist on the table. This is insane. Vanessa paced the room angrily. She stole everything. Bianca threw her phone onto the couch. My followers are laughing at me. Daniel sat quietly in the corner, watching them, thinking. Marcus turned to him. Say something. Daniel finally spoke. Our father didn't give her the empire because he loves her. Vanessa stopped pacing. Then why? Daniel looked up slowly. Because he believes she's better than us. Marcus laughed bitterly. That's ridiculous. Daniel shook his head. No, what's ridiculous is that he might be right. The room went silent. Bianca scoffed. So what now? Marcus leaned forward slowly. Now his voice was colder. We take it back. Vanessa's eyes widened. How? Marcus smiled. Every empire has enemies. Back at Wolfe Global headquarters the next morning, Amara entered the boardroom for the first time as CEO. The room was filled with executives, men and women who had worked with Damian for decades. Some looked curious, some looked doubtful, and some looked openly skeptical. One of the older board members cleared his throat. Miss Cole. Amara nodded politely. Yes, we respect Chief Wolfe deeply. Another executive added carefully. But running this company requires experience. Amara understood what they were saying. They didn't believe in her. Before she could respond, the boardroom door opened. Damian walked in. The room immediately fell silent. He walked slowly to the head of the table and said one sentence. She has my trust. Then he looked directly at the executives. If that is not enough for you. He paused. There is the door. No one moved. Later that evening, Damian invited Amara back to the mansion. They walked through the quiet garden together. I didn't give you the empire because you're perfect, Damian said. Amara looked at him. Then why? Because you're honest. They stopped beside the fountain. Greed destroys empires, Damian continued. But integrity protects them. Amara looked worried. What if I fail? Damian smiled slightly. Then you will fail honestly. She laughed softly. That's not very comforting. Damian's expression became serious. You will not fail. He handed her a small folder. What's this? Your first challenge. Amara opened it. Inside were documents about a massive corporate takeover attempt. Someone was trying to buy large shares of Wolfe Global secretly. Her eyes widened. Who is doing this? Damian looked toward the city lights. An old enemy. Meanwhile, Marcus met secretly with a powerful businessman named Victor Kane. Kane was one of Damian's biggest rivals. Marcus slid a document across the table. If you help us take control of Wolfe Global. Kane studied the paper carefully. What do I get? Marcus smiled coldly. Half the empire. Kane leaned back slowly. And your sister? Marcus shrugged. She won't last a year. Kane's eyes gleamed with interest. Then perhaps we should help her fail. Back at the mansion that night, Damian received a call. His expression changed as he listened. When he hung up, Amara noticed immediately. What happened? Damian looked at her carefully. Your new enemies just introduced themselves. Amara frowned. What do you mean? Damian said quietly. My children have started a war. The next morning, Amara stood in front of Wolfe Global headquarters. Hundreds of employees waited outside. News reporters surrounded the entrance. She took a deep breath. Then she walked forward confidently. For the first time, she looked like a leader. A reporter shouted, Miss Cole, are you ready to run a billion-dollar empire? Amara smiled calmly. Then she answered with a sentence no one expected. I'm not running it alone. She turned slightly toward the entrance. Damian Wolfe stepped out behind her. The reporters gasped. Amara continued. I'm protecting it, and anyone who tries to destroy it. Her voice became firmer. Will regret it. Behind her, Damian smiled proudly. Because the girl who once sat quietly at the back of the family table was now becoming something far more powerful. A leader, a protector, and the future of the Wolfe Empire.